Sometimes as a creative person, I just sit thinking, what the fucking hell are we all doing? And what is the point in doing anything anymore? So I've recorded an episode talking about those thoughts, those feelings, those emotions. So grab yourself a Kleenex, not for that, just in case you get a little tear. What's happening? You're listening to the Shoveit Podcast, and my name is Dylan Osborne. This is a creative procrastination space, just a place where we talk about, I say me. I basically a place for me to just throw some thoughts out there, some ideas coming from a creative perspective, from a creative professional, I guess is the way. It's a weird old world as a creative at the minute. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I had a conversation with my sister the other day, who's like quite a fair bit younger than me. And like the conversation was all around like, what the fuck is the point? Like as a creative person, what's the point in doing anything? Like who cares? And it's funny how you go through these little ebbs and flows of like what you want to do and where your passion lies and all that sort of stuff. And I guess for me, when I started the podcast thing, it was for a number of different reasons. One, I actually just quite like the process of setting up the podcast and recording it. So there's definitely a self-indulgence in it there. And two, I love talking. And sometimes I come up with an idea or a thought, and to make it into an actual video very quickly becomes a huge project. And then it's like, I've thought about it so much that I feel like I've already got there and achieved it. And then the effort required to actually make that come to life sometimes just feels like too big of a job. It's just sheer laziness. And it's a funny thing that's been very apparent for me in the last, I guess, year and a half. Like I've really like taken a back foot on my own stuff. Like, I hate using the phrase content. It's such a horrible word. But it is content for the internet, really. I was talking to my sister about it today, about like where you sit as a creative person. And I want to do an entire episode talking about thoughts on AI. So I'm actually trying to research that. So I've got some actual facts and stuff to put down. And I want to have a few more conversation-based stuff. Now, I recorded an episode a couple of months ago with my friend Rory, who was over from Cornwall. And we sat down and we talked about his creative journey. So that episode will be out after this episode, because I actually forgot that we recorded it. And then he phoned me the other day and said, any chance we're ever going to see this episode of me on a podcast? And I was like, oh yes, sorry about that. I totally forgot that we recorded. It literally just went into the abyss on my hard drive of things Dylan needs to sort out. They're just sitting on his hard drive. But it's a real funny journey, because when I worked full time for other people, I had this dream of doing my own stuff. Which is, to be fair, I kind of have what's the word? Not already, always. Oh my God, this is where we're at. My brain's just slowly melting. I've always just done that stuff. But I guess in my mind, I was like, see if I had free time, see if I worked for myself, I would just fucking kill it on my own stuff. And then I've been working for myself for 6.5, almost 7 years. And my production quantity has dipped. I've done fucking less than I have ever done before. Anyway, the problem with that is, I think there's just a lot of thought. As a creative person, there's a lot of thought and a lot of like second guessing that goes into it. And I talk to people who aren't from this world, especially like my wife. She's the polar opposite to me. And sometimes I'll be like overanalyzing something or worrying about something, or like I think I've made like 10 Instagram reels that I thought were kind of cool and creative, and they've never been posted, just purely from I don't know what it is, just constant second guessing. And when she asks me about it, I'm like, yeah, but there's this weird part in my brain that goes on. And then when I talk to other people, I'm like, I'm glad to hear that other people are like that. But as a creative person, you are sharing your thoughts and ideas, and you are sort of putting yourself out there. And it is very overwhelming at times. The internet's such a massive place that when you put something out there, it's got the potential to be huge. And it's got the potential to be completely ignored simultaneously. I'm very good at hitting the second part of that, just being completely ignored by the internet. And I've talked about this before when I say like, I feel like I'm in a waiting room, like the internet waiting room. Like I feel like at some point someone's going to be like, you can come into the actual adult internet over here where everybody sees your stuff and you can all communicate. And I'm like, I've just been sitting in here in this fucking holding room for the last 10 years. waiting. And they're like, oh yeah, that's where you went wrong. That's how it feels with me with the internet. But simultaneously, I feel like a bit of like fear to post things in case the entire world sees it. I don't know, that's so stupid. But I held off posting on TikTok for ages because I was actually like apprehensive of the idea that it can just reach anyone and everyone very quickly. And it's super interesting where social media sits now to where it was 10 years ago, where you don't have to build a following to reach people. When I started on Instagram, the whole concept of all of that was a subscriber base, a follower base, and that was where the value was. You had to spend loads of time creating content and reaching out and commenting and interacting and engaging with people so that they would see you, take notice, check out your account, and then go, oh, this is what this guy's about, follow you, and then be served your content. And I don't know, I mean, I complained about that whole process. At the time, I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. You should just be showing my content to people. Like, why do we have to work so hard to get these followers to see our stuff? And then it switched. And now I'm like, I just want my followers to see my stuff. I don't want the entire world to see it without my followers. And I honestly think there's just a little bit of like, there is an apprehension or fear involved in that side of it. And that's what held me back from TikTok. Like the idea that I could put something up and like get ridiculed for it. And the proof for me was in the pudding. I've got one video on TikTok that's like 1.3 million views. And it's not a great video. It's just a video of me making coffee. I thought it was kind of funny, but there was a smash cut in it. The whole gist of it is I run out of like 8 grams of beans, and I go to the coffee shop to get 8 grams of beans, and I come back, but it's this big elaborate journey, and it never fucking happened. I actually just needed to go to the coffee shop to get new coffee beans, so I made the joke. But somehow I got picked up by some German coffee dude or his following or something like that, and there were just people telling me to clean my coffee machine. So I was just like, why are we focusing on my coffee machine? What about the creative story behind it? And it was just like this entire audience, they didn't give a shit about my creative story because they're coffee people and they follow this German dude who does coffee stuff. So like, give us coffee stuff. Why is your machine so dirty? When we watch his coffee stuff, his machine's super clean and yours is fucking like pigs have been at it. And I'm like, go away. And that was one of those like eye-opening experiences when you do get something that gets a lot of views on a social media platform like that. It comes with this whole mix of like emotions. We're like, I'm happy with it, I don't like it, I want people to see it, I don't want people to see it. So it like constantly fucks with your head. And then you add on top of that AI and what's going on with all of that, and then you just start to like swirl, go in this like circle of like, what the fuck am I doing with anything? And that's like when I started the podcast, I thought, oh, right. I mean, I've done podcasts before with friends and I've always enjoyed the process of doing them. They've always been very difficult to get going. And I think it's tricky when you're like me and you're a very mixed bag of tricks, a jack of all trades. I don't really like to do one thing. So when I create stuff from my channels, it's a mix mash. And that kind of fits really well into the follower approach of stuff. If someone follows you and they like you as a person, the theory is that they will watch you do a mix of stuff. That's great. But in the world we're currently in, we're not really in this like follower social media world. We're in this like interest-driven world where people are following topics and themes. So they want to follow somebody for one thing. Well, they did not even follow necessarily. The algorithm will just continually serve it. I mean, how often do you watch a video by a creator or a person who's put something up? You don't follow, you don't subscribe, and then you just keep getting served that same person because maybe you watched it for longer or you interacted or you sent it. And that's just the fucking AI algorithms going, this dude watched that, let's just send him more of that shit. And then your video gets seen. And then the hope is it goes to 100 million people, and then out of that, 1 million people follow you, But that's a weird experience because now you have to decide, do you fit into a niche? And I fucking hate niches. I've always hated niches. Like I've never liked conforming to one. And so it makes me sound like I think I'm a rebel. I'm absolutely not. But I don't want to just do one thing. I've always struggled with that, and I've always battled and argued with that. And people have said to me for ages, "Oh, stick to this niche or just do this." I like doing a mix of different stuff. So it throws you into this like weird cycle of what the fuck am I doing? What am I making? And then I put a lot of effort into the videos that I make. On Instagram, I've always put effort into them. But on YouTube, I put a fair amount of effort into thinking about it, shooting it, editing it, getting an emotive story. And it's not definitely not the most polished stuff you're going to see on the internet by any means, but I put a fair enough amount of effort into it, and it doesn't really fit in the algorithmic world. And YouTube like does not know what to do with it. It has no idea. It's like, dude, you did a camping video and you reviewed a camera, and then you did an animation about a seagull, and then you did a weird vlog, then you went for a surf, now you're brewing beer, and now like what the fuck are you doing now? You're on a one wheel or you're cycling. And it's a very tricky thing because my brain works in so many different creative avenues. It's the reason it works like that is because I'm a commercial creative person. So I've always found that one of my skills is being able to go into any business or any brand or product and being able to adapt my skill set and my thought process for any industry, whether it's law firms to industrial, fucking builders to, is that even a thing? To like woodwork, to hospitals, to food and drinks, to clothing brands, an ad campaign for a taxi company. And then now we're doing it for this building society. And now we're doing it for this alcoholic drinks brand. And you need to be able to switch on and off and adapt and adjust and curate content ideas. And not even content, it wasn't even content back then, it was just ideas. You had to create ideas for all these things. And my brain works really well like that. I can jump between things really, really fast and work really, really efficiently in that side. But when it comes to your own stuff, I see so much in so many different things and so much beauty in all different aspects of life and funny shit in different aspects of life. And I kind of want to cover it all. And that makes it very difficult to put content on the internet, especially with the direction it's now going, where it's pushing this interest-based funnel. You need to fit into it. So I put all my stuff on the back foot at the moment while I tried to work out what in the heck was going on. I think I need part of me to do photographic based stuff because I love photography. Photography has always been like this thing that's just always gone along with my life. And it still is now. If I'm doing something, I always have a camera. And it sounds so fucking cliche now because everyone says it. And it's like, as a creative person who is into photography, who consumes a lot of content on the likes of YouTube and Instagram, I get served so many fucking people saying that sentence. And it's so demotivating because it makes you feel so unoriginal. When you hear that, like someone's like, "Oh, I've got a passion for photography. Oh, I always have a camera with me." All this, but like this shit I'm just saying to you now. And I'm like, and some people are authentically like that. That is actually true. And then there's other people that have just seen other people say it. And they're like, I'm just going to fucking say that shit because it sounds good. And I'm like, I know for a fine fucking fact that if you weren't getting views on the internet, you wouldn't do anything. Like you wouldn't actually got no interest on it. And my wife's always on at me like, you've gone and taken all these photographs. I've never seen them. And I'm like, yeah, but I've seen them. And she's like, but no one else has seen them. I'm like, I know, but I just like taking photos and looking at them. Like, I just enjoy the process of it. For me, it's just a meaningful way for me to see life. I hate that phrase, look at life through the lens, but that is kind of the concept of it. I do see stuff like that. And I grew up like riding BMX bikes, and like I'm 40 now and I still have a BMX and I still ride my BMX. I'm not as agile as I used to be, but like she still laughs at me because I see the world through the eyes of a BMX rider the same way as I see the world through the eyes of a photographer. Like we'll be driving down a road and there'll be like a little concrete bank, and at the top will be like a brick wall, and I'll be looking at it and she's like, you want to ride your bike on that, don't you? I'm like, yeah, but you could go up that side there, hit that bank, boost out of it, dip the front wheel, land in a downside wall ride on it, back into the bank. It'd be class. I mean, I couldn't, But I have friends that could do that. And there's times where I would have tried those things. But I've always seen, and I still now see that. Like I see little things, I'm like, oh, I'd love to take the bike there, whether it's a mountain bike or a BMX, and blast it. And that's the same as life with a camera. Like I'm always looking at things from the perspective of a photograph, like a frame, a moment. And sometimes that's a video as well, but it's just like looking through the lens. And I've always fucking enjoyed that. But the flood of people onto the internet makes that a very confusing experience as a person who's into that sort of stuff. And I talk to so many people who feel very, very similar on that. And it's a tricky little one to manage. So like with the podcast, I just wanted it to be a free space to talk. Just talk about thoughts, talk about ideas for me and for other people. Maybe other people are sitting there feeling the same way. And if you do feel like that, I'd love to hear, like, you know, yeah, what you're struggling with and like maybe what you do to fix it. I'm not asking for life advice. Like I'm all right. And that's the funny thing about this is like, see, when I do open up and I talk about things on my Instagram or on my YouTube channels, like sometimes people will like give you a really serious answer back. Like they'll DM me to be like, you all right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. We're just talking about content on the internet here. We're like, there's bigger shit. I got way more important shit in my life than this. This is just one outlet of my life that I find kind of fascinating. And the funny thing with it is it's like, it's a personal thing that I like to share with people. And I don't think unless you do something like that, I don't think you understand it. And the people that give me feedback like that, to take it very serious, quite often don't come from a creative background or don't live a world absorbed by that sort of creativity. And I think it's like, it's hard for people to understand it, but I'm like, I like sharing these things with you. So if I share something and like you love it, I love it. And if you don't love it, and I'm annoyed that you don't like it. And at the same time, I think a lot about all this stuff. So I might put an Instagram story up and you might just think, oh, Dill just went and got some fucking baked beans. But I like did something in that was super clever. And then I'm worried, like, did it work? Did it look right? And people are like, oh, don't overthink it. I'm like, but overthinking, it's everything. Overthinking it is me giving a shit. Overthinking it is me perfecting it the next time. It's me learning from it. That I gotta overthink it. But the trick is post it and overthink it. Whereas at the moment, sometimes I just get stuck in the overthinking and not the posting. But I do the making. I still make. That's the one thing for me, it always feels good. Like, I love making stuff. Just a lot of time it never finds its way onto the internet. And I can't even blame it on my shitty fucking broadband at home, which is 4 megabyte upload. Like, what am I supposed to do with that bullshit? So yeah, it's a funny little cycle in that. And I was talking to my sister today about something and talking to her about making videos and like her journey and what she likes doing. And I like told her about the documenting side of it. And I was like, just, you know, you do a lot of creative projects. Why don't you just document them by making some videos? Because it's actually kind of interesting. And as I'm saying, I'm fucking hearing it. I'm like, yeah, that's what you have to do, bro. You're fucking coming here, giving her the advice that you should be giving yourself. And this is why I like doing these things. Sometimes I'll do these podcasts and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's got my brain thinking. That's got me working in the right way. And also it's got me fucking around with all this gear. Like, I was shooting a video there for a camera thing that I got, and I had a lav mic on it. And I was like, oh, I'll do a podcast because this is front of mind. And then I set up the whole podcast thing, and I thought I could have just done this with the lav mic that was already plugged into the camera. And then I thought, well, no, that's not fun. I want to dick around with one of my 3 podcast mics for just me sitting here. You know, so I love this. I love this stuff. I don't need to do this. This doesn't need to be plugged into the MacBook running through Adobe Audition. I don't need to have 2 cameras filming me and 2 lights. I don't need to be doing this. But I mean, it's 20 past 9 on a Friday night. I need to go home. I need to go see my wife and my kids. One of my kids is coming back from a trip today. I need to go pick her up in 45 minutes. Can't wait to see her. But here I am, fucking recording a podcast, talking about content on the internet because I love the process of doing these things. And I also I like fucking making videos and sharing them with people. So the podcast thing, I was like, when I started thinking about what I was telling my sister about, the documenting the journey of it and like the story arc, you know, I was like, this is what you're supposed to be doing on this, bro. That's why you started this. And I know I joke about Shoveit, the entire thing of Shoveit being a procrastination project, but it is. That's exactly what it is. And that is what I'm procrastinating here, fucking around making a podcast. I should be at home doing something. Well, so it is the beauty of it, but it's the beauty of the freedom of creativity for me. And that's kind of what I've always enjoyed about it. So yeah, there's a lot of thought and emotion attached to making stuff like this. And if you are the sort of person who's watching this, because I have a few people that watch my content that would never make anything for the internet, and they're like it's always interesting talking to them about it. Some of them love it, some of them don't understand it, some of them ask why you do it, and I always enjoy those interactions. And it reminds me, like, because I am absorbed in that world, I see lots of that content. So I see a lot. So it feels to me like every motherfucker is making videos talking about photography and fucking design and making because I see loads of it and I subscribe to loads of it because I like it. But then I go for a walk and I'm like, no one's putting content on the internet. Really, in the bigger scheme of the world, most people are not contributing to the internet. But I'm sitting here in a little funnel with the blinkers on going, Jesus Christ, you know what we don't need? Another fella on the internet talking about photos and cameras. And actually, we're all right. We can do a few more. It's, we haven't overpopulated YouTube just yet with the camera niche. Now, I mean, I'm not going to do camera stuff. On the odd occasion I might talk about a bit of gear that I've got because I kind of like fucking around with gear sometimes, but I get very bored in the camera world making that sort of content. And I think that's another one of those like cycles I go around in where it's like, I feel as if you narrow yourself down to become a photo YouTuber, for example, then you need to do all these photo YouTube things. And a lot of people fall down the rabbit hole of gear. Now, a lot of people also do that because it's low-hanging fruit. There's a lot of people that make really good gear stuff and talk a lot of in-depth information. And I watch their videos because I'm like, I'll just watch them. And I don't like making videos like that because I get bored talking about that stuff. Like I got an Insta360 Go S thing. I don't know, one with the little lens detaches. I did an intro to it and I said some of the specs and shit, but I don't care about all that. As long as it does some of the shit that I need it to do, it's what I can do with that piece of gear is when gear excites me. So for me, it's like the stories that are attached to it, the journey. Like if you go out to take photos, I don't give a fuck what gear we're using. It's what photos we're capturing. And more importantly, what happens on that journey. Like I love nothing more than going out with mates and shooting photographs because the reason we've gone out is to go take photos. But the shit that happens around that's life. You know that whole saying, life happens when you're busy making plans? Life happens when you're out shooting content for the fucking internet. That's what happens. And that's the stuff that we should be sharing because that's the stuff that I love capturing. So yeah, I definitely find like you get stuck in this niche of like, oh, I need to do gear reviews, need to talk about cameras and all that sort of stuff. And then I see loads of people doing it. And I'm like, fuck, there's so many people doing this sort of stuff. And then, the cycle of all that continues. And I've just been thinking a lot more about the journey side for me. Like I love going out and telling stories and I love taking photos. So I'm going to start to work on an entire piece that's just focused on the photographic side of my life, which is what I started when I started Dill Takes Photos Instagram. That's what it was all about. And then, that's all gone to, that just went down the fucking chute because I confused it all. And then you get stuck with personal brand and all that sort of stuff. So I want to start to make more photo-based content because I quite enjoy it and I quite like that photo-based community. But then I also at the same time want a space to just make whatever the fuck I want to make because I am me and I like making things. So I don't want to not make things. So I'm trying to look at the whole concept of the interest-based internet as a positive in that you can have a whole bunch of outputs. So you don't have to make less or make more. You just have to put it in different places, if that makes sense. You might be sitting there going, yeah, Dylan, I've been telling you that for fucking ages, bro, and you never listened. I'm like, yeah. But we lived in a follower world. Now we live in an interest world. And what I mean by that, if you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, social media is very follower based. In social media, we follow people, we talk to them. It's very social. That's the key. But in interest internet or the interest media, whatever the fuck you want to call it there. It's just like little areas. I talked about this in an episode before. Jack Conte had talked about these little islands that sit by themselves. People like live on an island. No one lives on an island. People are visiting an island. But the island is about cameras, and the other island is about fucking red velvet cakes. And no one gives a shit about the people creating the stuff. They just want the red velvet cake content, if you get what I'm saying. But actually the beauty to that is that you can create a whole bunch of different accounts effectively if you wanted to. You can create a whole bunch of different outputs, and you can make the stuff that you want for that. And I had a really good conversation about a year and a bit ago with my buddy Stephen Reed. Now Stephen and I were on very similar numbers on YouTube, like our own personal YouTube, and he was doing like outdoor stuff, running stuff. And I've mentioned to him, I would like to get him onto this to chat about this, because he's very interesting the way he's done this. And he was doing a mix of stuff, sort of similar to me, but a little bit more focused. And then he just split his channels, and he created a channel just for like his tech stuff. I think it's like Steve's Tech Emporium. And then he created, in his main account, just became outdoor camping, running, like outdoor stuff. And then he's been able to do like little mini docs based on all that sort of stuff, which is super interesting, and it's worked really, really well. I mean, like, he's doing so well on YouTube. His numbers, I don't know, he's about 130,000 subs or something. And old mate over here is still on fucking 2,000 something, 2,601 probably. But it shows like it shows the power when you do niche down, but also that fits into the world now where you can like create content for one audience, but you can just create multiple streams. And I guess I never really thought about the multiple streams. I thought it was this or that. I can do this, and I can do that, or I can do this, or I can do that. But you can do both, huh? Dun dun dun. You can do both. You can do all. Just do it all. Do everything. A little bit of everything all of the time. As fucking Bo Burnham says, a little bit of everything all of the time. That's the internet. And that's a fucking hard thing to get your head around, because then you've just overwhelmed yourself with the amount of content that you need to fucking create and put on the internet. So that's another hurdle to get. We'll get over that one at a different day. But I think for me, it's just going around in all these circles and second guessing and stuff. I think I've come around to a place now where I'm like, you know what? I can just create photo content for a photo world and create those random shit for this world. You know, I mean, that's only two things. And then I can create the podcast talking about the journey. So for me, the podcast is about talking about these things, what I'm learning, what I've experienced, interesting people I've met, maybe new techniques, or I want to do one all about AI, because it's fucking fascinating. It's like, I'm fascinated and I'm like petrified by it, and then excited by it, and then massively demotivated by it, all at the same time. It's just this like rush of emotions. And I'm like, I don't know whether we cheer, run for our fucking lives, attack it head on, or just lie down in a fucking submissive position and give up. I really don't know what the fuck we're supposed to do with all this. But it's fascinating, and I think the next 12 months are going to be super fucking interesting from this side of it. So yeah. Thanks for listening to another episode of the podcast. I'll get that one with Rory out soon. He's just a younger guy who is newish to the freelance world, and I've been working with him on some stuff to try to encourage him and coach him and teach him and help him, I guess, just lessons I've learned, things like that. But I've become good friends with him along the way, and got him on just for a little chat about that. So I'll do that in the next episode. And then I'll just try to keep fucking banging these things out. I mean, if you guys like them and you're listening to them, I'll keep banging them out. Otherwise, I'll just be talking into the abyss. But if you have any topics or thoughts you'd find interesting, you think I may have an opinion on, by all means, drop them in a message, or you can leave them in the comments or something. Otherwise, I'll just ramble about whatever I want to ramble about, all right? But thanks for listening. Thanks for taking the time out to have a listen to it. Do appreciate you doing that, and I guess I'll catch you in the very next episode. Yeah, you better. Although that'll be the one after the Rory one, because I will catch you in that one, but that was filmed before. You know what I'm saying, right?